Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the report by the Departmental Committee on Labor on an inquiry regarding sexual harassment of female workers in tea estates in Kericho County through a statement sought by the Honorable County Member of Parliament for Kericho County.
Proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Chair for Labor, the Honorable Eric Mushangi, aka Karemba, and I were both students of Kenyatta University, including the Honorable Dean Nyoro, our Chair for Budget, and we've remained quite friends quite some time together. And perhaps that's why he asked me to second this motion, although I'm not a member of this committee. Honorable Speaker, this revelations by this BBC expose is very painful for the millions of workers in this country. It is even more painful that it took a BBC expose for us to know the fates and the suffering of these women in Kericho County. And we thank the Honorable County MP for Kericho for bringing this attention to this House, and the Committee on Labor for doing thorough investigation and tabling the report before us. But of course, Honorable Speaker, I note in the report that, as you would expect, there is not much evidence that they were able to get, mainly because the victims of sexual harassment were intimidated, they feared for their lives, and therefore no single culprit of this sexual harassment came to testify before the committee. Which begs the question, Mr. Speaker, what is happening in places of work across the Republic? Which begs the question, what is happening to women who work in various institutions in this country? And I dare say, Mr. Speaker, this harassment does not just go for women. We have had cases of also men being sexually harassed at their workplaces, Mr. Speaker, when they are going to work, and even in the normal operations of their businesses, Mr. Speaker. One would wonder whether we are short of laws to protect against sexual harassment in this country. And the answer is no. Article 27 of the Constitution, Honorable Speaker, prohibits any kind of discrimination, including gender, anywhere in this country. Section 23 of the Sexual Offences Act expressly says what sexual harassment is, and unfortunately only sets a penalty of up to 100,000 shillings and imprisonment of up to 3 years for these particular offences. So perhaps it is high time that this Honourable House reviewed this particular act and reviewed the fine and the imprisonment term or the punishment that should be vetted by these sexual offenders, Honourable Speaker. The Employment Act, Section 6.1, again talks expressly about how we should relate with each other at our workplaces, Honourable Speaker. But perhaps this sexual harassment does not just happen. It's not just happening in Kericho. Our police stations have become another place for sexual harassment. And most of the police stations that you'll find in this country, Mr. Speaker, do not have separate cells for men and for women. And most importantly, very few of them have separate cells for children. And even the ones that have separate cells for children offenders, they do not separate between the boys and the girls. So you have a child offender who is arrested, who is taken to a police station, who is a boy, and is being kept in that polling station among other criminal men. And by morning, Mr. Speaker, a lot has happened to that, to those young offenders, Mr. Speaker. So I think it is a high time that our executive and especially our our Ministry of Interior rethinks about how our police cells are being made, so that we make sure even if these people are offenders, they still have their rights. And we should still protect them from harassment in those particular cells. So I really hope that we are going to have those cells clearly defined. This is for men, this is for women, and most importantly, for the young offenders, to make sure there are those cells for the young boys and the young girls, Mr. Speaker. This morning, when I was preparing to second this motion, I talked to one Corporal Beth Kamau, a police officer in charge of gender at Elbagon Police Station. And Mr. Speaker, I was surprised to note that 75% of all cases registered in that Elbagon police station. And she was saying that this is actually the statistics for police stations across the country, because they have a group where they shared all those reports with other gender officers. So 70% of all cases reported in police stations in this country relates to gender-based violence. Mr. Speaker, in the mornings when I'm coming to work, I like to listen to Classic 105. And some of those debates on Classic by Maina and Kingangi sometimes are very controversial. And Mr. Speaker, I get very surprised when I hear stories of men and women talking about being beaten like it is the order of the day. Talking about women who are battered to near death. And they say, what do I do, Maina? Where do I go, Maina? And these cases go on and on. A few months ago, there was a debate about now men who are being clobbered by their wives. Even one saying that he lost his eye. Another one says he was still limping. And we have the way the discussion goes is that it's so casual because it is the order of the day. And this is really to urge Kenyans, and especially even those in abusive marriages, that when it comes to that violence, when your wife or your husband is beating you up, you are a potential to death any minute. You are a candidate of death any minute. Because sometimes, I remember, Honorable Speaker, there was a case in high school of a case in, I think it was Nyahururu, where when the husband went to hit the wife ran out, and the only thing that she saw that was near that she could protect her from being hit was an axe. And so when now she was trying now to defend herself with an axe, their small 1 year and a half, around 1 year old baby woke up. And now when he came to the sitting room, and now the husband was trying to take away the axe from the woman, the axe actually fell on that boy, and that boy died. And that guy ended up being imprisoned in Nakuru, and then I think he's still serving his term for murdering his son. I'm sure he didn't intend to kill the son. But when now we resolved violence, instead of sitting down as adults and having a conversation about the issues that are affecting us, then know that death becomes ultimate, and perhaps you might even find yourself as a candidate for murder. So it's really to encourage all of us, especially in marriage institutions, that let us resolve to dialogue, and let us not normalize abuse, physical abuse, as if it's the order of the day. And even when our friends come to us and tell us that they have been beaten up, let us offer solid and sound advice. For example, being firm and saying, you cannot hit me again, you should never hit me, including, if possible, going to record a settlement at a police station. And not just to wait until they are killed by their spouses, and then we rush to the funeral in printed T-shirts of their photos, eulogizing them in house and saying how great those people are. Mr. Speaker, was the issue of early or teen pregnancies. That again, the cases that she has to deal with every day is like, she was saying, like currently she's investigating 13 cases of pregnancies in just 3 schools. 3 schools, 13 cases of teen pregnancies. And who are the ones responsible? Grown adults. And perhaps I'm wondering, what is this that men see in small children that they don't see in adult women? What is this? I think perhaps the Q in LGBTQ, that queer thing, is how you look at a child and think about having sexual intercourse with them. I think men, we should stand up. We should be the one protecting our children. And this issue of having sex with underage children must stop, so that we protect our future generations. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I again support this great report by the Departmental Committee on Labor, as done by my friend, Honorable Eric. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable members, let me acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of students from the very famous Precious Blood